mailbag episode.
And you know how much we love these episodes. We get to interact with you. So let's get it going right now.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we are the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your very first listen every day. Be sure you check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On Rays, as well as all the other traditional podcast platforms that are out there. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays, and send us an email or voice memo to lockedonrays@gmail.com. Speaking of that, our first mailbag question is from, I always mess this up. Is it Mia or Maya?
Yes. No, the first
Maya.
one. Mia.
Mia.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Mia Franz. Her question is, keeping the faith. Hey guys, in our house right now, we want to trust the front office. We really do. But hearing the news last week that Evan Longoria was in town and then subsequently signed by the Arizona Diamondbacks, not to mention all the other free agent signings, it's getting hard to see our way clear to a big new bat. I know we don't have the money to hang with the biggest contracts, but now we're safely into second-tier salaries, and the list is shrinking. Tell me something to make me believe. Oh, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Mia, and the boys as well. Hope they're doing great. I think we all need a pick-me-up if you're a Rays fan, Kevin, right? Because there hasn't, the hot stove has been real cold. It's been a freezing stove. Basically, Zach Eflin has been the addition. I know Kelly happened, JP Fireisen to the Dodgers. I understand, but basically it's been pretty dead. So the pick-me-up that I can come up with as we are in the second week of January is that this pitching staff, Mia, it is going to be the nastiest we have ever seen. I really think it could rival the 2012 rotation, which in my opinion was the best ever in the franchise. For those that might not have been Rays fans in 2012, or were not alive, or were not aware, or you just don't remember, here's a little reminder of who those guys were: James Shields, David Price, Matt Moore, Jeremy Hellickson, and Alex Cobb. And oh wait, the 6th and 7th guys were Jeff Neiman and Chris Archer. I mean, it was 2012 was the nastiest the rotation has ever been. But I really think that with Glasnow, McClanahan, Rasmussen, Springs, and Eflin, who is going to get better, by the way, now that he's in the magical hands of Snyder and company.
Yeah, and the defense behind him too, compared to
the defense behind him, and the pitch and the park factors as well. Which, by the way, he's going to a pitcher's park, not a hitter's park. I really think this rotation has it could rival that 2012.
I'm glad you mentioned the rotation of old, and there was Jeff Neiman and Chris Archer as the quasi number 6 and number 7 guys. Who's the number 6 and number 7 guy for the Rays on 2023?
I think that's between Yonny Chirinos. I know people would probably say Fleming, but I think the hierarchy would be Bradley, honestly.
Yeah, that's
on
fair.
Stuff.
Or do you give more weight and opportunity to a guy like Jalen Beeks?
I think they're done with Jalen Beeks as a starter. I think
they found the perfect role for Jalen Beeks and just leave it at that.
Exactly. Hey, he's a 6'6" kind of batters kind of guy. Perfect.
Yeah, that's
perfect.
Fair.
5'6". So yeah, I think that's the 6'7" would be Yonny Chirinos and Bradley. I know somebody could argue, of course, Fleming. Is there a name that I might be overlooking here for that 6 and 7 spot? Maybe Patino.
Yeah. It probably vacillates between Fleming and Patino depending on how they're going. I mean, you would hope the fan base and the organization would sure hope and want it to be Luis Patino. Like at some point, it's got to be, come on, get it together. We gave up so much to acquire you, and you've been such a hot prospect over the years that it's time for you to produce. But again, maybe it's not that point yet. But I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, there's a lot of pick me ups besides the. I mean, there's a question later on that kind of deals with what the Rays are going to do offensively. So, yeah, I'm going to set that aside for now and say, yeah, the pitching staff is superb. You have expanded playoffs. So the Rays, they don't have to be that good of a team and they can still get in. You should theoretically definitely have bounce back years from Wander, Margot, and Brandon Loud, just in the fact of more playing time and being healthier and playing more games. I think one of a combination of Jonathan Aranda, Josh Lowe, Curtis Mead, Vidal Brujan, one of those guys could pop up. That is something to possibly look forward to. Headway on the stadium front. And going back to the prospects thing and you know, some of the newcomers, I think this could be a year where maybe it's Jonathan Aranda, maybe it's Josh Lowe, maybe it's Curtis Mead. They put up a season like Will Myers did in 2013 or Steven Souza did in his rookie year. I think I feel like that almost has to happen. Like the Rays have so many of those guys on the 40-man that they're betting and confident that one of those guys is going to be able to, hey, give me 13 to 15 home runs, give me a 780 to 830 OPS, and go from there. On the flip side of that, Ben Zobrist, it took him like 3 years to finally settle in and find his footing and comfort at the big league level.
Yeah, he had to then go back to the minors and basically rework his swing from scratch. I like your optimism. I don't share it offensively with, you know, because injuries can happen. You know, Margot didn't get hurt, you know, twiddling his thumbs. So he was trying to get a ball in the outfield and he banks with the fence. Like that could very well happen.
Yes.
In 2023, the hamate bone, somebody could hit Wander in the hand again. So I don't particularly share that opinion, but I think it's fair to say that it's about
all three of those guys have to play more than 100 games, though, right?
I hope so, but we never know, man. I don't know. I hope so. It just sucks that that's like the one thing that we can hope offensively is like, well, I hope it's the same the names that just don't get hurt this time. It sucks that there's not a better plan than just wishing and hoping. But I will say, regarding your Will Myers comp or the Souza one, I think the name is Curtis Mead. If you're hoping for somebody to pop off, I'm sorry. I will not put green Skittles on Josh Lowe, Vidal Brujan, or Taylor Walls to figure it out offensively this season. I would put more green Skittles on Curtis Mead than on the other three guys combined. But again, I hope I'm wrong. But I'm more enthused about what Curtis Mead can do than what these other three guys can offensively.
And you have a better memory than I do in regards to these things. Will Myers, when was he called up in 2013? It's not like he was promoted right out of spring training.
No, I believe they waited for him to not be a Super 2, hashtag the Rays way. I believe it was the second week of June or first week of June of 2013.
I could see that with Curtis Mead.
I can see
Stay
that
in the
too.
minors for a couple months and then get that call up. And I don't think Myers eclipsed 100 games. I mean, it was kind of right around that if he was called up that late. So to be able to, I could see Curtis Mead, whatever Will Myers' line was from that season, I could legitimately see that from Curtis Mead. That would be tremendously helpful.
Can I read it to you? Because it's nasty.
Sure.
88 games, 335 at-bats. This is a slash line from Will Myers in 2013 when he won Rookie of the Year, people. 293, 354, 478 slug. That's an 831 OPS, a 131 OPS plus, 13 home runs, 53 RBI. I mean, 50 runs scored. He was just, he was impressive.
It's a different era too. Pitchers are a lot better and more refined.
Sure. But I mean, anything in the neighborhood that smells like this, the slash line or the numbers in total, my goodness, we would all be buying Curtis Mead jerseys, and the real ones, not the
Yes.
ones from like, for $20 in Asia. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So great question there. We've got more mailbag questions to get to, but first we have to tell you about betonline.net. Betonline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. You can get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. Football, basketball, soccer, it is all covered at betonline.net. It is the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. So head over to their website today or use that mobile device of yours to learn more. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. All right. This next question on Twitter from Tracy Davis. He or she, I can't really tell here, ask, what do you think the most likely move the Rays will do to improve the offense? And that could be very open-ended. That could have a lot of answers. That it may not just be signing a second or third tier bat in free agency.
Oh boy. Well, Tracy, thank you for writing to us. This is the question that we're all wondering. What are they going to do to improve the offense? I still believe they will sign someone. I have to believe that. A Brandon Belt, a trade of some kind, a Seth Brown, a guy. We've talked about Vogelback, maybe a trade there. I mean, they have to do something.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, I think the front office might not have expected the market to act the way that it did during the offseason. So now their hands are tied. And if you look at like a depth chart, which of course they have, of like, okay, who are the free agents that we want to target? I'm pretty sure they've had to scratch a lot of names off that list. And now they're looking at it like, what's worth it? Is it worth it to trade this prospect capital for this guy?
Yeah.
Or can we get that same production, wishing and hoping, then Margot, Brendan Lau, and Wander Franco just have 120 games each? Is that production going to just equal the signing of a Brandon Belt or a trade of some kind? And if I know I just said 2 minutes ago that I believe they'll sign someone, because I really hope they do, but it might be that they're just wishing and hoping that's it. And they're going to wait until spring training or maybe an injury happens and they're like, okay, now we have to act for real. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be an earth shattering addition by any imagination.
Yeah. What do you think is more likely, that the Rays before or over the course of spring training, they trade many of their prospect inventory to add that Seth Brown type, or they add one of those second or third tier free agents that are still on the market, or they go into the season, see how the first month or two goes, and then make a trade. Maybe it's in late May, maybe it's in June, maybe it's closer to the trade deadline. It wouldn't be the Rays have, we go back, the Rays traded Willy Adames in late May.
Yep.
So that could also be something where they see, in athletics that they're not playing for anything, and the Rays, they aren't getting the type of offensive production that they expected. They have some sort of unexpected injury that pops up, and it's like, we need somebody now. We can't wait till the trade deadline. Let's go ahead and make this move now before there's so many other suitors trying to make ads or sells or whatever it may be.
And I guess I think they're going to wait. I think they're going to wait either for spring training or the season to start. And I'll say that because what if Jonathan Aranda just is completely crushing the ball in spring training?
Right.
So
which again really doesn't mean anything because it's spring training, I guess. But
sure, but it's at least something. And so like if the guy is just red hot, you're like, lefty bat, kind of DH first base type, because we saw what he can do in second base, and I don't think any Rays fan liked it defensively. Maybe they're like, okay, let's see let's give him some playing time, just like they did with Josh Lowe last year. They're like, okay, opening day roster, we're going to give you 30 days. Here you go,
Yeah.
kid. Show us what you can do. If one of the young guys is able to have a really good spring training, I'm looking at Abreu, Vidal, and Lowe and Aranda, like, because I really think Taylor Walls has a spot already. It's between those three guys to kind of, cement themselves in spring training. And if they do, then you might not be able to see an addition unless, it's like May, like you're saying, and then you can get some trades happening. But I think it's second week of January. I know there's still time, but it just seems like it's a waiting game now. They're
we
going
might
to see what they have.
have some solidification of the Rays' next stadium before the Rays add a free agent back.
Well, David Peralta's still there. He's still a free agent, buddy.
That's a good point. Question. So I went and looked this up. Okay, I know we had the discussion last week about Eric Hosmer, Brandon Belt, Daniel Vogelbach, which there's actually some interesting back and forth on Twitter and a really good Twitter poll out there. Brandon Bolt seems to be the preferred out of those three. But based on 2022 numbers, Jesus Aguilar hit 16 home runs. Adam Duvall hit 12 home runs. Tommy Pham hit 17 home runs. Andrew McCutchen hit 17 home runs. Luke Voit hit 22 homers. Any of those tickle your fancy? Or would you rather go for the bounce back potential of a Brandon Belt or a Trey Mancini or a Corey Dickerson or a David Peralta? Or a Yuli Gurriel?
No, I think
Okay.
no. I think he has nothing left in the tank, unfortunately for him. But Trey Mancini is, the story just. I really like his story and his background, and we know that he can handle the AL East. So that's something that he knows the pitchers and the stadiums, and he knows what to expect. So I like that about Trey Mancini, and I really think that he really fits well. First base, DH, corner outfield type guy. Like, that's perfect for what the Rays would need for this season. I know he's not, he doesn't bat from the left side, but if you mash, you mash. I really don't care if that's the situation. Now, you said another name that is also familiar with the AL East that I think has a huge chip on his shoulder, and that's Luke Voit.
Yeah.
Luke Voit did not like that trade. And then the second trade, getting out of San Diego because of the whole Hosmer thing, he definitely did not appreciate that either. I think this guy, if he were to go with the Rays, and I know that there was past interactions where, obviously there was some saltiness there between Voit and the Rays, which of course there had to be because, he was playing for the Yankees. But I think he would love nothing more than mash against his former team. It would be kind of like a Hunter Renfroe against the Rays situation. I see that 100% happening with Luke Voit playing against the Yankees. Like, that's exactly how he would go off.
And I'm surprised we haven't even really considered him or brought him up more frequently as a potential add. I know that I guess more of the eye is on a lefty bat compared to a big righty first baseman and DH. But Luke Voit, again, I know it's not 40, 45 homers, but you're not getting that in this marketplace anymore. But Luke Voit has 3 20-plus homer seasons since 2019. And those are seasons where, it's not like he had to play 160 games to get to 21 or 22 homers. He's shown that he only needs to play 120, 130 games, and he can get to that mark. So,
funnily enough, the whole thing is, we want a lefty bat so that he can mash righty pitching. If you look at the splits versus right-handed pitching, he's hitting 247, 312, 455, so a 767 OPS against righties. Luke Voit, out of his 22 home runs, do you know how many were against righties?
Based on the fact that you're asking that, and based upon the fact that like 70% of pitchers are right-handed, I'm going to say like 17.
20 out of 22 were against righties. He's a reverse split guy, 100%. His OPS against lefties is 569. He's unplayable against lefties, at least last season. So, this could be an option. And I know Rays fans are not really going to be digging this because they don't like the guy because he was with the Yankees and all that. Yeah. But I'm telling you, you want a revenge tour? a guy that wants to stick it to his old team. And what better team to stick it to than the New York Yankees? If you're a Rays fan, I mean, you want a Renfro for the Rays? This is it. A Renfro revenge tour.
That's a good
Let's
point.
get the Luke Voigt revenge tour.
I like it. All right. Let's move on to this final question of the day from Jake Stokes. He says, if the season started today, who is the Rays' first baseman? Is it Harold Ramirez? Do you move Yandy and let Curtis Mead get a shot in the bigs at third? Jonathan Aranda, Brandon Lau, who is it?
I think all of those names are probably going to get some sort of playing time throughout the season. Just because he has the most experience and has proved that he is a everyday kind of guy because of his offensive production. Like, you just can't take him against righties or lefties. Like, unless he just physically cannot stand in the box, Yandy Diaz, I think, is an everyday player. And so I think you should stick him at first base. He's handled it before more than the other guys. I know that
at third.
Exactly. So the hole would be third base. If you need a lefty stick to man third base, you have got Taylor Walls. You would not be getting a lot of offensive production there. But, hopefully, again, we're also wishing and hoping about Franco and Margot and Lau. So maybe that can be the surplus there. And if you need a righty bat, then you got Isaac Paredes to man third base while Yandy's at first.
So
I don't love that, by the way.
Kind of dovetailing off of that, who would you rather play third base? Isaac Paredes or Yandy Diaz? Both are playing. Say it's versus a lefty starter. You have Paredes and Yandy in the lineup. Who are you putting at first and who are you putting at third?
I think Paredes' range is better than Yandy at third. We know Yandy has very smooth hands, but it's like 2 steps to the left and 2 steps to the right. That's about it. So just because of the range factor, I think I would go Paredes. Better knees, better health. I think I would go third with Paredes, yeah.
So versus a lefty starter, Yandy Diaz goes to first base. Versus a righty starter, I feel like that's the opportunity to play Taylor Walls somewhere, be it at second, third, or short. Well, I guess you're not going to play short because of Wander, but second base.
If he needs a day off,
that's where you have Brandon Lau at first.
You could do that, and Taylor Walls actually fared much better against righties. So you want his lefty stick in the lineup, not his righty one.
That's where you're going to get the power and extra base hit. I mean, what little power and extra base hit you're going to get.
Exactly.
That's your best opportunity to do it. So
I'm a proponent of Brandon Lau at first. So I love that situation or occurrence or whatever you want to call it as scenario. But so yeah, I would be down with you put Taylor Walls at second, you put first base Brandon Lau, and then third, obviously you have Yandy.
Yeah,
to do that.
And I'm not too hot on playing Harold Ramirez in the field, I guess. I think he's shown he can handle the DH role, so I would give him as many opportunities as possible in that realm. Because not everybody can handle the DH role. Some guys
you're gonna need some day that Randy needs a day off the turf, so you put him in right field for Harold or left. Like, you understand that, but the less I can see Harold with a glove, I think would make us all feel a little bit more comfortable about the defense.
Yes. Very fair. All right. Great questions there from everybody. Keep them coming for the next mailbag episode. Again, lockedonrays@gmail.com, or you can send us a Twitter or Instagram DM or comment as well. In the meantime, thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your very first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked On MLB Prospects podcast. That is also free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you on Friday.